Wow, did you get this at Starbucks?
Have you ever gone to Starbucks and ordered a cake pop and wondered how they make such amazing desserts? I wondered the exact same thing, so I learned how to make them. Today my purpose is to show you how to make great, delicious cake pops really easily. To make cake pops, the first thing you're going to need to do is bake a cake. I've bought a simple cake mix that needs eggs, water, and oil. After you bake your cake, you'll need icing to mix your cake with, chocolate for your covering of the cake pops, sprinkles to make it look nice, lollipop sticks to make the cake pop, bags to properly wrap them, and twisty ties so nothing can get in the seal. You'll also need a styrofoam cube, that way your cake pops can stand up straight while hardening. First, you need to wash your hands. Make sure you preheat your oven to 350. We have bought a classic white cake mix, so the first thing you'll need to do is open the bag. You can pour it into the bowl first. After that, add your water, which is 1 1/4 of a cup. Make sure you don't splash anywhere because you don't want to make a big mess. Then you'll need to add 3 eggs. You can just dispose them in the sink when you're finished. After you've added your 3 eggs, you add 1/3 of a cup of oil. Try not to spill it. After you've added all your ingredients to the bowl, start mixing it just to make sure all the ingredients get combined together. Scrape the sides down just to make sure you get everything mixed together. After you've hand mixed your cake mix with your spatula, you need to use an automatic beater. That way you can mix it all together and add air into the cake so it becomes fluffy. Mixed your cake together and you're ready to put it in the oven, make sure you spray down your pan so your cake doesn't get stuck. Make sure you get all the little sides, you don't want it to stick at all. After you've mixed your batter with the electric beater, your cake batter is now ready to be poured in the pan. Slowly pour it in there and make sure all your spots are even. After you've got the majority of it, you can scrape down your sides with the spatula. Now that your cake batter is in the pan, you can put your cake in the oven for 29 minutes. Just a little bit before your cake timer goes off, you can pull your cake out of the oven just to check to see if it's ready. So what you'll do is after you stick the knife into the oven, if you pull it out and there's no cake batter on it, then your cake is ready to be pulled out. So in this case, our cake is ready to be pulled out. After you take the cake out of the oven, make sure you leave it on the counter to cool down. Once you have removed your cake from the oven, you can set it on your counter to cool. Once it's cool to the touch, you can start crumbling it up and mixing it with the icing to make your cake pops.
The cake pop crunchy and gross.
hard spots from the edges like this, you can throw out just because you don't want that a part of your cake. You're going to want to do this until it's fine and thin and there's no big clumps. Once your cake batter is broken down into little bitty pieces like this, you can add your icing into it and begin. Now that you've grinded your cake up, you can add little scoops of icing in, but only add a little bit at a time. You can use the bigger spatula to just stir it around and mix the icing up with the cake. The more moist your cake is, the less icing you'll actually need to use. If you're not sure if you've added enough icing or not, you can just take the cake and crumble it into a ball. And then if you can press on your cake and it kind of crumbles up like that, you need to add more icing into it. To keep all your cake pops the same size, you can use this cookie scoop, which just takes, if you just scoop it and press against the side, and then you can squeeze it out, and then they'll all be the same size. You can just roll it into a ball so you can get that cake pop shape. Just keep doing that until you're out of batter or you've reached the amount you need. Roll them into balls and try to make them as perfect as possible. You can scrape off the sides if you didn't get all the cake off when you put it on the side. After you have made all your cake pops, you can put them into the refrigerator for an hour. Just so they'll be able to cool and harden and won't fall apart.
Okay.
Now that our cake pops are hardened, we can work on the coating. We have white chocolate almond bars that you can break up into small squares to melt. I prefer to put a bowl over a pot of boiling water. That way the water can regulate the temperature of the bowl and it won't burn. You want to melt it and stir it so that when you get a spoonful of icing and you flip it on its side, it has a good running consistency. That way it'll be easy to dip your cake pops into it. After an hour, your cake balls are ready to come out of the refrigerator and you can start. Now you can get ready to dip them. So you'll first dip the stick into the icing and then you'll put it into the cake ball just to keep it to where once the icing freezes, it won't come out of the cake ball. Now that your chocolate is melted, you need to pour it into a bowl deep enough to dip the cake pops into it. If you have any extra, just kind of tap it on the side of the bowl to get the extra off. Then, once you think you have a good amount of chocolate on your cake pop, you can set it on the styrofoam to harden. It's okay if a little bit drips off because it'll still make the cake pop. Now this is a long process, so you can set an assembly lineup to make it go a little bit quicker. Now that you have iced and sprinkled your cake pops, you can start bagging them up. So you'll need a little twist tie and this little small plastic bag that you can get at Michael's. Now that you have bagged and tied all your cake pops, you can keep them in the refrigerator till you're ready to serve them. Thank you for watching my video. I hope I've helped you understand what all goes into a cake pop, and I hope I've helped you learn how to make them in an easy way. Enjoy the cake pops!